We've been in the habit of starting with the big one. So I think we should continue that trend.
Let's do Final Fantasy 15 later.
Okay.
Because we've been talking about it all show already.
That's true.
All right, then let's open with... So who here has been playing The Last Guardian? I know no one played some last night.
Can Chris Davis come in here?
Have you not played it?
No,
I'm not going to spoil
I've been on
anything.
media blackout for this thing, and I don't even want to look at the footage.
I'm not going to spoil. The footage I have is literally from like the first 20 minutes.
This is an important conversation.
So in my opinion,
But I've not played it.
It's not spoilery. The thing is, and it's kind of what I'm going to get into, it's a lot of me being confused.
And I'm not far enough to really spoil much.
How much have you played?
About 2 hours, but not.
Did you get the bird dog yet?
Yeah,
You get the bird dog.
you
in
get the bird
first,
dog
like,
immediately.
Like 5 minutes.
don't
If
want-
Well, the footage is rolling. This is literally the fucking start of the game.
no, this is like 10 minutes in. I promise you, Nick. It's 10 minutes.
Oh, okay, I know. Okay, that's it.
So anyway, let's talk about The Last Guardian. If I could describe this game in a single word, it would be frustrating. If I could describe it in 2 words, it would be frustrating and disappointing.
Oh my god! Really?
So hold on, I
could use those
knew
same
it.
2 words to describe my life with Hyde.
I was following Nick's Twitter feed from last
my God,
night, and he was having a completely opposite
Complete
experience.
opposite
from me.
reaction for me.
I knew all the 9s and 10s were too good to be true. I knew it because
So hold on.
fucking people.
No.
These
This
fucking
is,
people.
There are going to be 2 very different kinds of people who play
I
this
didn't
game.
trust them. I didn't
No.
trust the 10s at all.
Listen to me.
At all.
Listen to me for a second. There are going to be 2 very different kinds of people, I think, who played this game. There are going to be people. So one thing they've talked about for a very long time with this game is that Trico, the animal, does not listen to every command you give it because they want him to behave more like an actual animal.
So the funny thing is,
the point is,
continue.
the 2 different kinds of people are going to be the people who are okay with that, and the people I think who are not okay with that because they want it to be a game. They want it to respond to what they're telling him to, what you're telling it to do.
So and that's what I talked about with chat last night. And we talked about that for a while, about how, it's supposed to be an animal and it's supposed to, it doesn't always listen to your instructions, is what they were saying.
Yeah.
And my response was, I think their AI is just bad and that's their excuse.
Well, you know what? What? Yorda sucked ass too, and there was 2
Yorda
kinds of
did.
people. People who thought Yorda was a dumb hoe who should get thrown off a cliff, and people who loved Yorda.
So hold on. I'm 4.5 hours into this game. My biggest frustration with that, Nick, is I don't know. So yeah. Okay, maybe he's not listening to me, but I don't even know if he has registered that I've given him a command. That is the frustrating thing with me. And there's, if you watch, I would like you to watch some of my playthrough from last night once you get past it, and watch when I was having my frustrations.
Okay.
While yes, it was multiple times when I couldn't understand why he wasn't listening to me. Like there was one point where I had to get a chain that was high up in the air, and I had to get on his head, and he would kind of do this, and I could get on the chain, and he did it once.
Yeah.
I tried for 10 minutes to get him to do it again. That is not an exaggeration on time. And chat was like, maybe he didn't actually do that. And all of a sudden, he just fucking randomly did it again. And like, I was like, I don't understand why he's, I don't understand. Is it he's just not wanting to listen to me, or the game doesn't understand what I'm trying to tell him to do? And then like, my biggest frustration with this is they try to make it immersive. Think like Eco and Shadow of the Colossus, where there is no guidance. They kind of just, almost like they guide you. They nudge you. They do a very good job of early on forcing you to do something.
Yeah.
Like literally put you in a linear hallway where you can only do one thing, and that trains you. Oh, I can only do this. There you go. I figured this out. Now later on, when I'm in an open area and I see something similar to that, oh, I remember doing this before. Let me do that. My frustrations with this game is that yes, it revolves around a AI companion who doesn't always do what you need him to do, but sometimes there was one part of the game where I was in an open area and I was lost. I was like, what am I supposed to do here? I don't understand. I ran around for several minutes. It turns out I had to be in a specific area, wait for him to follow me over there, and do something to get him to do something. I'd already been over that area multiple times, but I didn't do it in such a way that it would progress. And it's that confusion and not understanding when this is supposed to happen and why.
But I've ended up in 2 situations where he did something that was supposed to, and one of them was trying to get up here to get through that little hole, right? Where you can stand on his head and he'll walk over there and you can jump onto the ledge and get through there. And then, but I missed my opportunity. I think I fell off or something.
Yeah.
I missed the jump. So he laid down, and I was like, well, great. How do I get him to stand back up again? But he laid, like, this has happened twice where I missed my chance to do initially what they wanted me to do, and then he laid down or he did something else, but it kind of made it
obvious that you had to get on
I stood
it.
back on his back, and then where he laid, the way he laid down, I was able to stand on his back and still jump up to get to where I was supposed to go. So, and I'm not as far as you yet, so there might be still some scenarios where that frustration comes into play, but like to me, like I am just completely enthralled with watching. I think this fucking animal behaves. Like, I've never seen anything in a video game behave or act like this.
Fucking conversation, like this is forever Team Eco's struggle.
No,
because what Nolan sounds like he's describing, if he opened this conversation and instead of Last Guardian, he was talking about some of the Colossuses in Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah.
About getting them to do things like,
Sometimes you had to get
how
them
come
to
the fucking horse is not going over to the hole, you know? Like, what the fuck do I do here? How do I get the Colossus to do this one thing that will let me get into this position to get up to a later part of his body or even get on the fucking thing? I mean, that's... It's obvious after 3 games now, or, all this shit with Yorda, that it's either, like... Whether they have the ability to not have it be like that or not, I feel like it is a conscious choice they have to be making at this point, to where that they would rather it be, figuring out what to do and how to do it as part of the experience, and they don't care if maybe some people don't have the patience for that, because this is the 3rd game that can be described like that from Team Eco.
So let me. I had a pretty aggravated, and I don't usually get that frustrated when I play games. If you look at all my past streams, I don't often get that frustrated. I was livid when I was playing this last night because of, in what my opinion is, very poor design choices in the game. There was one instance when they first, everyone knows that there's like enemies in this game to some extent. I don't know to what extent. I'm not going to spoil anything, Brad, I promise. I was introduced to an enemy in the game. What happened when I was walking down a hallway. So I booked it down the hallway, and it like kind of dead ends, and there's like this weird kind of alcove that you can, and I'm like, oh, when I got up to it, it's like press this button to climb over. So I'm trying to climb over, and like I keep trying this one thing, and I keep trying, and it's not working, and I keep trying and failing, and it turns out I was doing the wrong thing. I wasn't supposed to be doing that. I was supposed to be doing something else. But the problem was there was like a light at the end of the hallway. Like the game was guiding me this way.
Is that the room with the alcove with the chain hanging at the end of the... Okay.
The game, in my opinion, was guiding me to go that way. It turns out I was supposed to be at the very opposite end. I didn't know that.
See, the weird thing is, like... You're right, because I did that, but I just happened to go...
the other way.
Underneath the thing, right?
Okay.
Which is where you're supposed to go. First, before I ran down that hallway. And he comments on, like... to avoid those things. And I just happened to not. So that situation ended up being less frustrating.
Nick, for me, that was almost a 15-minute situation where I was trying to do something, and I was fucking livid. And afterwards, there's supposed to be a like a sentimental, like kind of like oh, the creature so whatever, but I was just so livid that I didn't care. Like I almost feel like my experience of this game was lessened because of how frustrated I was in that situation. Another instance is so in my opinion, what they could have done, like I said, there's like a balcony right there.
Yeah.
If that balcony, which has nothing to do with anything,
you don't do anything.
If that wasn't there, that I would have been through that situation like that.
But
But because it made it seem like I had to go that way, I've tried and I tried and I tried for like 15 minutes, and I kept failing, and that just was so, and like I said, if that wouldn't have been there, would have been easy.
I think
you're saying it's not just your struggles controlling Trico, it's also that like the world design is very obfuscated and confusing.
Okay, is it possible
the world is not built in such? I don't think the world was necessarily designed and built in such a way to only exist to lead the player in a certain direction. It almost feels like it was built. It was just a world that was built, and you were there. And
yes.
Is it possible? Going off what he's saying there. Their last game came out in 2006. Is it possible that Team Eco wants the player to have to figure this shit out? Like that's...
No, it probably is. And so hold on, going based off that, Later on, I had another frustrating sequence where I had to get to one place. And because I spent so much fucking time there, I learned that there was like 12 different ways I could get from point A to point B. But once I got to point B, there was only one way to get to point C. There was only one way. And I could not find that thing. The thing is, it like trails off and you have to go down some ledge. And I didn't realize that at the end of that ledge, there was a hole that the player character could barely fit through, and I had to crawl into that hole. I didn't see it. You know, the camera was at such an angle that I didn't see it, and I was like, well, this is a dead end. So I spent 20 minutes running around I'm like, that's a dead end. I can't go that way.
That reminds me of Ocarina of Time.
What could have fixed that situation is instead of there being a hole, there being a ledge you crawl up onto, and then there being a hole. That would have negated, once again, my entire frustrations. And I don't understand why they didn't, like, maybe I
think one thing you bring up, and this is like the one complaint I have with the game so far is its camera.
Oh god, the camera, yeah, it's so frustrating.
The camera can be hard to wrangle, especially.
Can you actually rotate it?
You can,
yes.
Yeah, you can rotate it.
Or is it like the Eco?
No, you can free rotate.
You can free rotate it. It's not super responsive, but you can also hold L1 and it will focus on Trico. So no matter where he is in relation to you, it always center the camera back on him, so you can watch which I think is mostly just so you can kind of follow what he's doing and you can look at him, because they obviously want you to see and like react to him. But that's obviously, I also use that a lot to kind of gain control of the camera, because sometimes it goes crazy. I don't know where I'm looking. I don't know where I should be looking. So I use that to kind of like recenter and regather my, figure out where I am standing exactly. Because the camera is just not super responsive, which kind of sucks. Also, I think the controls for like the character you are playing as are a little sloppy,
loose.
But they've always been loose. They're all, like it doesn't act. He honestly doesn't control any worse necessarily than any other Team Eco game.
No, yeah,
it's just one of those things it's been so long though since I've played a Team Eco game that it's kind of, you have to kind of reacquaint yourself with it.
It sounds like Team Eco fans are trying to make excuses, but I think at this point it's not even an excuse. It's just the way it is. I think Team Eco fans just don't care.
No, coming off of that, yes, Brad.
What happened to his neck?
Yeah, I agree with that statement I'm talking with chat last night, and I was like, one of my things is I don't know how much this game was play tested, because
they only had 10 years.
I'm just saying, like, I feel like the whole point of play testing a game is to break it, find the ways to break it, find the ways that people get confused and don't understand. Because when you develop a game, you know where the player's supposed to go. It's obvious to you. But when you show it to someone else, it might not be as obvious as you thought it was. And I think there have been multiple circumstances in this game where I was very confused as to what I was supposed to be doing. And I feel like they could have easily fixed that by, like I said, just very, very small changes that could have made it very obvious what I was supposed to do.
I'm going to be playing with Malia, so I hope that maybe having another person there.
No, I think definitely. I think having someone else's eyes on it would probably help. Another frustrating, and I know it's kind of silly, but I don't understand the controls. They're kind of weird.
You mean for the boy?
Yeah, like
triangle to jump.
Triangle to jump. I really don't like that.
You
know it is, and I just the menu.
Do you have a grip meter?
No, thank God. You don't have to hold to grip.
No, but I like that. Is there an option?
No, there's no. So as soon as you start crawling on the creature, you're just on him until you press drop off, which later on you'll understand why you like that.
Yeah.
But it's the triangle to jump is weird.
Has always been.
Yeah, no, it always been, and it's just when you go into the menu, there's like 4 things.
Yeah,
there are not a lot of options in the menus to do anything.
I'm kind of disappointed that no one are the only one who've played it so far, because I know, but like I thought I was expecting a bigger part of the conversation to honestly be the difference between playing the PS4 Pro versus the regular.
And the only thing I've heard to that regard, Nick, is just the fact that the PS4 regular does have a lot of frame rate issues.
Yeah,
and I've run into one instance in my 4.5 hours where the frame rate dropped to like 25. Like it wasn't even on the Pro, and it wasn't a big drop. But other than that, at least on the Pro, I've run into no issues.
Yeah, I've been playing on the Pro, and it runs pretty.
I
fucking
saw
smooth,
the analysis, the Eurogamer or whatever that they always do.
Yeah,
it for the most part, it's not like, I mean, some people were posting clips of it, like frame rate glitches or whatever. But from what I understand, it's more that the PS4 version of the game is just it doesn't run at 30 all the time. It's more like 27 all the time. And then it drops in places, but it's not like people are making it sound like it's like unplayable or something, but
It's definitely not.
Is it less than 30?
I don't.
Yes.
Then it's unplayable.
Well, yeah. But I'm saying I feel like it's consistently less than 30, but just a little bit. So hopefully it's not too bad. But I'll let you know after I play it. But, I mean, I don't think it's going to be a big part of the conversation.
So, I mean, I've been fairly negative on it. I will say that the last, like, hour and a half, I actually started enjoying myself. I was having less issues. I started the AI. So the AI started becoming less of an issue because I was in areas where he didn't need to be an issue. Does that make sense? Like I wasn't reliant on him as much in some things. If y'all remember from there was like one promo they showed of this where like the character jumps off something and he misses the jump and then Trico catches him, whatever.
That's a cutscene, right?
Yeah, it's a cutscene. The thing is, that happened to me once, not in a cutscene. And it was this fucking epic moment of this entire set piece was going on. Not like a cutscene, just shit was going on. And I fucked something up, and I fell, and his tail just happened to be there, and I grabbed it, and it was fucking amazing.
There's a trophy for catching his tail or something a certain number of times.
Okay, but it's still.
So like, I think they've designed it in such a way that they give you opportunities to kind of recreate that moment because that was a pretty awesome.
But no, like I said, like it wasn't like I don't think the AI was like, oh, he's falling, I'm gonna move the tail there.
Yeah,
it just happened to be that I was falling and his tail happened to be there.
Yeah,
and it was a fucking epic moment.
He didn't move his tail there.
No, he did not move his tail. It just happened to be there as I was falling because, like I said, it was this big set piece that was going on. Not a cutscene, just like shit was going on. And then I fucked something up. Like I was confused. I was like, wait, what? And then I fell. And then like I said, like thankfully his tail was there.
So, as Nolan mentioned, I was live tweeting this last night as I was playing it.
Yeah.
Not having, I mean, like he's twice as far as I am essentially at this point. So, frustrations may crop up. My early impressions of it though were actually way more positive. Predominantly just because, like, I straight up, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this animal in a game. Period.
I agree. Yeah, like the AI is
just watching him. I just love watching him walk around and look like there's like.
Have you thrown a barrel in his mouth?
You throwing the barrel, like feeding him the barrels, and like getting to the point where it's like, do I just drop it in front of him? Do I throw it at him? Like, if you get too close to him with the barrel, he'll like knock you over with his nose, and just like I had like you know that feeling like that expression you make when you like maybe if you're like a dog lover and you see a dog and you're like, oh, it's a dog. I fucking love dogs.
That's
like I had that.
We don't have a phrase for that in English, but they do have a phrase for that in Tagalog, and it's called giggle.
I was giggle.
That is because we don't have a word for it, but that's what they use that word for when you have that kind of like. I was tweeting all the moments last night when I was just playing this game and I was watching Trico like walk around and do things where I was just like, oh my god, it's fucking adorable. I fucking love. Bernadette likes to describe it as when she loves something so much, like a small animal, that she just wants to crush it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I just want to just crush it until it dies.
And so I agree with you on that. They're definitely, like I said, later on,
like when he tries to he'll try to follow you. You'll go through like a small door, and he'll try to follow you through the door and get his head stuck, and then he starts to panic. Like that kind of shit is it's all over the place, and I love it. And I'm there, and kind of picking up on the cues. Like sometimes like you'll have to sit there and like you'll get up on a ledge somewhere, and you're like, well, how is he gonna get up here? And you kind of have to watch like the way he moves his head and what he's looking at, and then kind of move yourself into position and then call him and see if he'll like follow you up, like that kind of stuff. And try like I feel like I feel like they do a really good job of building a relationship between the player and this character. Like I was 30 minutes in and I was like, I can already tell you I'm gonna fucking cry like a baby at the end of this game if this keeps up, because I think the animal is actually really well. In fact, I feel like probably one of the biggest challenges in the development of this game is probably getting that fucking thing to be. I've never seen a thing move like that in a game. Like the whatever you want to call it's AI or whatever. It's just it's super lifelike, and I've never seen that before. So thought that was really cool. I'm really excited to play more of it. I can't really say much more than that at this point. I won't. I don't want to spoil
Here's
anything.
a question. On the topic of pro and not pro, do you think now that the pro's out there, games that are running sub 30 on regular PlayStation 4, it's going to get brought up more in reviews? Because I mean,
I hope so.
I mean, think about like Fallout or Witcher 3 or Bloodborne. All those ran sub 30.
Yeah.
All of those, and those were some of the biggest games of the generation. But you didn't see people criticizing that
Because there
reviews.
wasn't a better version.
You know, or think about like back in the PS2 generation with like Shadow of the Colossus, or the following generation with like Dark Souls for the first time. You know, Blighttown.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, right? Yeah. But that wasn't brought up in reviews. Now all of a sudden there's another version, and people are making these frame rate comparisons, and the pros.
Brad, you realize that Fallout 4 ran at 60 frames a second on PC?
I know, but I'm saying, but think about that. Though.
No, yeah, I know what you're saying.
Just because the PC version existed and amazing graphics cards did, no one was talking about the frame rate because of that in reviews for the PS4
console version. Yeah,
now that all of a sudden you have this other PS Pro version out, like games are going to get knocked for performance.
Probably.
That seems a little weird.
But that might be necessary to force their hand and to make them more even. Like
who's then?
Some of the developers.
You talking about Team Eco should have?
No, but I'm saying like as that kind of stuff starts to get called out more in reviews, it might put more pressure on the developers.
I'm just saying it's making it noticeable.
Yeah, well,
because now that the Pro is new, everyone's doing. We got to look at both versions. We got to look at both versions. But people didn't really do that with PC and I mean, they did when they were talking about, it's a quality port, the controls are in order. But it's not like people were talking shit about the console because the frame rate was not 60 frames a second. You know, now we're looking at 3 frames difference, and it's a paragraph in a review. Isn't that a little weird?
Would you think that was as egregious if we were talking about a game that wasn't a Team Eco game?
Well, no, any pro game.
Yeah.
I think this is just a good example. It's not even just that way.
I'm with Nick. I think if there's going to be a huge disparity between these two differences, if they're promising that these games should still run stably on the hardware we already own, that we don't have to buy into this new hardware, I think it's fair to point that out.
I mean, that's what I thought the bulk of our conversation tonight was going to be focused on the fact that we talked so much about this prior to the release of the Pro, that we were all really worried that this game wasn't going to run very well on the original PS4.
But it's not even. It's just raw power that's pushing a few more frames. Like we didn't have a conversation about The Witcher 3. Did we all start it on console?
I'm the only one that started on PC.
This isn't you playing on PC, me playing on PS4. We're having different experiences. This is you playing on PS4, me playing on PS4, and we're having different experiences.
All of us.
Like that is different. That is a different, like the buy-in on a PS4 for both of us is the same. The buy-in for a PC and the buy-in for a PS4 are different.
No, but what I'm saying is people are being critical of the developer all of a sudden, as if like people are
fuck those guys.
But what I'm saying is, it's like raw power pushed these frames. It's not fucking amazing coding or anything that pushed these frames.
So I mean, that's debatable. I think it's a situation of
they can optimize it differently on the original PS4.
So they know
the Pro.
Anytime a developer makes a game and the frames start dropping, that they depending on how their engine is and everything, they potentially could get the frame rate better by maybe removing some, be it just stuff in the world, by better optimizing the game,
absolutely.
By adding fog walls so that not as much shit has to be going on at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, but also look at what Final Fantasy 15 did, and they have like settings you can literally turn on high resolution, low resolution, or lower resolution.
And it affects frame rate.
No. You're right. Like I think all developers should fucking strive for 60 frames a second. I feel like they try to push it too hard, and that's why we're getting games that run sub 30.
If you look at,
and we've been getting them all generation, and now all of a sudden, because of a much more powerful system, is just via raw power pushing these frames. It's not like Team Eco's spent months working on this fucking PS Pro patch. They probably those patches. There's probably not much fucking to them.
Is that what you were talking about when you?
Yeah. I saw it. Yeah. All of a sudden, like. That lower frame rate version is like a mistake by the developers. Like what's wrong with you for putting out this suboptimal product when we've been playing those games all generation.
So
and all.
I think the fact that there's two pieces of hardware now gives them a reason.
Brad, what I will say,
I'm playing my
I
PC
feel like
games
you
on a
are
7.
rushing to Team Eco's defense here for some reason.
No, it is.
It's
It's
like-
not Team Eco.
I mean, but okay.
I'm saying all generation long.
wait, why would you be defending Team Eco here?
Yeah, I'm not even defending Team.
No,
Eco.
he's saying that this is an issue because the PS4 version doesn't run anywhere near as well as the PS4.
No, but
Pro
he's
version.
saying that the developer should be absolved of all guilt in that scenario.
No, he's not.
no.
That's what you're saying.
He's
You're
saying the developer
you're
should
saying that
strive to make the
difference-
game
the
run
difference
better.
is being made by the hardware alone, not by anything that the developer is doing. The developer didn't have anything to do with the fact that the non-pro versions.
He's
running
saying the
worse
developer
than them.
didn't change anything in their game and it runs better on one system. He's saying the developer should change something so it runs better on the weaker system.
Yeah, I mean, I always want a better frame rate, but I'm talking
That's not
about.
how it sounded.
No, it's
That's
about
what he was saying.
It's about the topic of conversation.
Brad,
That all of a sudden, this developer that wouldn't have hit 30 frames stable if the Pro didn't exist, it probably would have been the same fucking game, right? Like all of a sudden, they've made mistakes because now everyone is with the fine-tooth comb comparing it to the Pro version. While all generation, the biggest games have had sub 30 frame rates. Witcher 3, Bloodborne, and
Brad,
Fallout 4.
What I'll say lately,
and people aren't like people didn't that wasn't paragraphs in a fucking
that's because
review.
everyone was doing it. Lately, console games, Xbone and PS4 games have been looking way better than they have been in the past. Games look amazing, but their frame rates have been horrible. And that's because developers, for some reason, keep pushing the better graphics and frame rate's been falling back. And
Graphics
I think
over performance.
Exactly. And I think because of the PS4 Pro and maybe the Xbox, I don't know how the One S runs, but I think because of that, and people will start realizing, I do prefer the fucking game with better frame rate, that maybe they will hopefully start understanding that maybe in an instance like Final Fantasy 15 and how PCs have always been, it may be either an option to lower graphical settings so the game runs better, or just, understanding that they should strive for a stable frame rate over graphics. That is what I think a lot of people want, and I know there are some who don't care.
What if it does the opposite? Because one thing I noticed about The Witcher 3 is subsequent patches, they would see frame rate improvement. Now, they got a stable version out there on the PS4 Pro. Maybe we don't need to work for months at a time to improve the frame rate in the base version.
We should probably move on from
Yeah, I
this
agree.
conversation. I don't even know why he's still running Last Guardian footage. We haven't really been talking about The Last Guardian
I
for
mean,
a
it
while
stemmed from this, but
It's just so weird. We're in an era
Well,
now
it is.
that's,
One-
that's
strange.
different.
one final note on The Last
frustrating.
Guardian, now that the footage is gone. Like I said, I'm 4.5 hours in. I did, towards the end of it, start enjoying it more. I am going to finish this game. I want to see where it goes. It's like I said, it's just that initial frustration with the lack of guidance and confusion it just really turned me off. And I think I understand what they were trying to do. They were trying to, it's a little kid in this situation. He's not going to know everything. But once again, it's a fucking video game. Give me those more complex situations an hour into the game, not the first 10 minutes. Don't give me this branching path where I think I'm supposed to go this way when I'm wrong in the first half hour of the game.
Well, there's also a difference between I have to figure out how to do this and I can't do this because sometimes the game just doesn't work.
Yeah. No.
Like that, I think that's the big distinction to be made there, just based on what
Are you
you're
going to
saying.
play this, Crispy?
I don't fucking know. I'm
say-
not even
you
playing what
seem
I'm
like-
playing right now.
Like, oh, yeah. Oh, like, I knew people were full
you
of
think
shit.
I'm gushing about this game not being God's gift to man?
You opened with it when Nolan said that he was frustrated. You're like,
No,
I
because,
knew it!
Because
did that come from?
I read a bunch of reviews about this game. People who were giving this game like 9s and 10s.
Do you know why?
Were saying the shit that Nolan's saying. And it's like,
But
Like I don't understand.
Guess what also got
I don't
9s and
understand how
10s?
you can say like this game doesn't work half the time.
I
got really frustrated with this game.
I'm gonna tell you why.
Game of the year.
I'm gonna
Like,
tell you why.
because they
Have you
built it up to
played?
be this.
No.
That game was a 10 to these people before it came out.
no, it was not.
Yes, it was.
Listen.
Yes, it fucking was.
Do you know how a game with problems can be a 10? Because they connected with it, like on an emotional level, maybe a spiritual level. And
I can tell you right
people
now.
already
I can tell you right now.
Yeah.
you are skeptical as shit of that, and that's fine. But I'm saying that's how a game with problems can still get a 10. And that's what you're seeing. You know, this Metacritic is at like 83%, right? And it's not because it's getting mostly 8s. It's because it's people giving it 6s and 7s here and there, and then the rest are 10s. 9s and 10s, because look, it's very. I agree with Nick. I think there's two kinds of people. There's people who will have an experience that they connect with, and they will overlook something and give it a 10. Not everyone follows the same kind of review scale.
I mean,
there are lots of
openly
fucked
acknowledge
games that I adore. I gave Nier my game of the year one year. That game is so fucked.
Yeah,
like if that didn't connect with me on some weird level, and I just was like fucking graphics,
But do you
frame
think-
rate, controls,
do you
like
think
that game
that-
would not be my game of the year.
Do you think that connection would exist if this game had just come out of a vacuum
Yes.
from 6 months
Yes.
ago?
It happened with Ego. It
I'm,
happened with
I'm
Shadow
telling
of the
you right now.
Colossus.
I like maybe Ego is the better example because when I played Eco, I didn't fucking have any idea what the fuck I was playing.
that was their first game.
Incredibly sure, but like,
But I'm telling you, like I played the game for 20 minutes and I was already fucking attached to this creature that you're playing with in this
so
game.
you're saying
And I
before you
open-
started playing the game, you didn't have any like.
I was excited because I like Team
Like-
Eco games. I like Shadow of the Colossus. I loved Eco, but like I went into Eco totally blind. It's impossible. It would have been impossible for me to go in blind. But I openly acknowledge the camera is not good. The controls are as frustrating as they've always been in Team Eco games, but those games connect with me on a totally different level than most games out there. They do.
It would just be easier for me to swallow if this game wasn't already such a meme in video games.
Well, then at that point,
Like,
you're letting
is
it.
just like-
At that point, I think you should play it.
But at that point, you're also letting the history of the game's development color the way you perceive other people's opinions of it,
Yeah.
or your own.
No, just more the fact that I didn't run out and buy it yesterday.
Well, Crispin, I also think it's the opposite situation where you think people are giving it 9s and 10s just because they want to suck its dick. And hold on,
I'm not saying every single person who's giving it a great score is doing it because of that. I feel like there is an influx of certain reviewers who were just a little taken with the hype on it.
Okay, so but
That's
what you're
something you gotta say after
what
you
you're
play it,
saying
though.
is you're seeing all these people who are giving it really good scores, and you think and it seems like in some situations that they were going to give it a good score no matter what. But I don't think you can make that assumption unless you've played the. You know, it's almost like
No,
the opposite. It's opposite way.
That's
Like
fair. That's fair. But you were asking me, am I going to play this game? And I said, I don't fucking know. I don't have time. I don't have money to really just be like buying everything that comes out.
Redbox it.
This is what
it's
I'm
not a
thinking.
Redbox.
Like this isn't a game.
I have it
Like
from
to me,
Redbox.
this isn't a game that I can fucking look at review scores and say like, oh well, everyone seems to like it. It should be a sound investment. Like those review scores don't mean anything to me. Don't mean anything.
Why,
to me.
though?
Because it is still possible that this great game, I could boot it up and I could be one of those people you're talking about that it just doesn't fucking work with.
Yeah, I mean, sure, that's a possibility.
Then borrow someone's.
But why would you not be taken by like a 10? But like of going, man, maybe this game might be something special,
Well,
despite
I mean,
that shit.
That's
that's
also
what that
part of
number
the
tells
whole-
you, right?
That's also part of the whole discussion of like review scores and everything. I mean, everything has to be within the range of 7 to 10 to even be worth a damn.
10s are the kinds of
Like,
We do need to move on.
we're talking in circles again.
We do need to move on. I didn't.